Last financial year, we finished on a total revenue of just under 12 mil.
It specialises in LED lighting kits that bring to life the assembled creations.
I'm so passionate about Lego, made me start this business. There was a light bulb moment where I thought, hey, there's a business opportunity here.
It's anything but child's play.
The goal is to double our revenue for the next 12 months.
In pause. Well,
we started in 2016, so it's our 8th year. And we've just been fortunate enough to go from strength to strength each year. It all stems from my childhood. I've always wanted to be creative. We're always thinking and innovating. And I think that's what keeps it healthy, I think.
what do you spend currently on paid ads, like monthly?
At the moment, we're probably spending about, I'd say,
Pause for effect, Kenny. Let that wash over me.
I've always felt like somewhat a minority, being like the only Asian in school. It was a funny thing. It's having this unique passion, identifying what that is, stopping and asking yourself what's stopping you from doing that. I am living the dream and I had to pinch myself. I'm doing this because I followed my passion for Lego. I am doing this because I built a company through my passion. It's challenged me to think outside the box in terms of just lights for Lego.
Yeah.
How do we branch out and hit all these other markets?
What have you learned from the process of being a dad that's come onto your business?
I think
Welcome to Chew the Fat. I'm absolutely obsessed with high performance and business. So I sit down with incredible guests and we talk about what it takes to be at the top. This is part of my mission to raise $1 million for children's cancer by running a cookbook called Eat with Purpose. I've got one ask for you. Share the content. The bigger the audience, the bigger the impact. Let's get stuck in. Mate, as you know, because I'm happy to hear you've heard the podcast before. The Eat with Purpose cookbook is part of my mission to raise $1 million for charity. It is finally here. It's in my hand. It's exciting. Today you'll get your copy.
Awesome.
And your request was make you my favorite meal out of it.
Yep.
Now I'll be lying if I said I did that. Because what I did was, what can I do really quickly, efficiently, and it'll taste really good and be super healthy? So we have this today. It would be in my top 5 favorites. Spiced chicken, rice, guacamole, and a little bit of a side salad and some grilled corn.
Yeah.
Mate, let's get stuck in.
You make it sound so nice as well.
I always have one question.
Yep.
And as you take your first bite, so you can think about it for a second.
Okay.
Take me to one memory in your mind. The first thing you think about when you go, my favorite meal that created the biggest memory in my brain.
In Chinese, it's called dao miu, which is basically snow pea shoots.
Ooh.
But it's fried in garlic. You know, with the wok. You see them in Asian. It's so simple, but it's like one of my favorite meals ever. I could eat a whole plate of it.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, let's keep eating and then we'll get stuck into the interview.
Kenny, CEO and founder of Light My Bricks. Welcome to Chew the Fat.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
I love that, mate.
Really looking forward to this one.
I love that. Now, I gave you not too many carbs, so we wouldn't be slowing down the conversation.
Yeah.
Where I'd love to start for the audience is like, what are the couple of key moments in your childhood that made the person you are today?
Oh, good question. Growing up for me, I've always felt like somewhat a minority. And I say that because I grew up in being like the only Asian in school or the only Asian in class. I had severe eczema and that just have all, and then I think growing up, because I felt somewhat, a minority or other, I was I naturally gravitated towards doing things that were, I guess, not so the normal. Like if I was to think about what I wanted to be when I grow up when I was a kid, it wasn't your policeman or fireman or, I don't know, office worker. It would be like a magician or a crossing man, or because I just found the crossing man at school just so cool. He had cool boots and, a cool get up, and just his swagger was just like, boop, boop. It was just, I don't know, that was where my mind
so
did. Or an actor or circus act or something out of the ordinary. So I think growing up, because of that really defined my character and always pushed me to always kind of search for more or do something that was not just the norm. Yeah. So that's like I think one of the refining kind of things for me.
Man, that's so many questions. the crossing guy, I love that.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd hear that as a response.
Me too. Yeah.
So that's good. Talk to me a little bit about that eczema. So like, I can imagine putting myself in the shoes. So like, I was a young whippersnapper teenager, and I had severe like acne on my face.
Yeah.
And I remember from how that made me feel and like subconscious. It does shape a lot of your thinking. Like,
for sure.
What did that do to your personality and your confidence and things like that?
I wouldn't say it was great for my confidence because it's always you're looking at yourself. You got like all these kind of rashes all over, and people, kids are cruel. They'll be like, "Oh, what's wrong with your skin there?" and all that kind of thing. And so I'd always be like, "What's wrong with me? Like, why am I not like them?" On top of that, being Asian, I'm like, I wish I was white. I used to think that all the time. It was a funny thing.
What? I see. I'm trying to like put myself in the shoes there, right? And it's like it's super interesting. But like the connection I'm trying to understand also is like, how do you think that's then set you up for this business world?
I think it's in a way a bit of a survival thing. It's always like my mind just goes, I'm not going to always just follow the norm. I want to be something more than that. And it's always to, I guess, speak to myself as a kid, having eczema and feeling like the minority, that I'm always trying to prove myself to be better and not just like everybody else, but better. And I think that's what's always pushed me to never kind of settle, I guess. Yeah. So it's been a bit of a journey, but yeah.
And is that a like a struggle you have today? We're going to dive into your business, and your business has some serious growth. But as I hear that story and that contextual background, the first thing I hear is, had I not known your business numbers, I could probably already tell you your business is going to be fantastic because you've got a why that's strong enough and something that can be a battle, right? The battle between like wanting to prove and having that, but then the reality of like, where does that stop? Because it's like continual feeling that you need to prove for yourself. Like, where does that line get drawn for you?
I wouldn't say I draw the line anywhere. It's just a constant thing for me, that it never really stops. And I think as you live life, it's not like, oh, you've achieved so much, you're done. For me, that's not the outcome, or that's not the goal. It's just to constantly be better and better each day that passes as you get older, so that when you have lived life and you're 50, 60 years old, you're smashing it because you've achieved the most. At that point, it's like your peak just gets being pushed more and more higher. Yeah.
The high performance dilemma.
Yeah.
I like to think about that. Okay, so I got people on the edge of their seats, hopefully, and thinking about, okay, like, so what's Light My Bricks?
Yes.
What kind of company are we talking with? Like, give me, I guess, let's start with like today's numbers. Okay. And then I'm going to take us back to how we got into it.
Yeah, sure. So this last financial year, we finished on a total revenue of just under 12 mil. I should just say 12, right? It just sounds better. Why dumb that down. 12 mil. We started in 2016, so it's our 8th year. And we've just been fortunate enough to go from strength to strength each year. Growth. We've expanded. We have a team of about 30 staff. We are very much global. Australia only makes up probably about 20-25% of our overall business. I would say half of it is in the US. And the others is scattered around Europe, Canada, UK. And what Light My Bricks is, for the people who don't know, it's actually lighting and lighting accessories for Lego. So it's when people hear about Light My Bricks, they think, oh, it must be lighting for industrial lighting for construction or whatever, but mini construction.
Way more lucrative.
Yeah.
I want to pause you there for a moment, right? For everybody's listening, they're in the car, they're driving to work, and they're going, wait, what the fuck did you just say? $12 million and we're lighting Lego. I love that. It's something that Jack and I have been talking about recently, is like this concept of like these, unsexy businesses that you wouldn't even think of, and there's bulk cash to be made. And it's really interesting. So like, what was the leap between I want to become an entrepreneur and this is the right thing for me?
I've always wanted to do something different. Like, I've grown up, and I didn't mention this, but my first passion was music. Like, when I was a teenager, I discovered music, and I picked up the guitar, and I was playing bands, writing music, and touring with my band. I was doing that for a big part of my teenage years to young adult years. And I love just creating stuff. The band eventually folded, and when I was about 24-ish, and I had an IT certificate, and that was purely because my mum and dad have always said they supported me with my creative ventures, but they're always like, you need to have a stable income. You need stability, especially if you want to grow up and get married and have a house and all that kind of thing. I mean, unless your band makes it ridiculously big, you're going to need a backup plan. So they've always kind of encouraged me to have that backup plan. So to do by them, I part-time took up an IT course and learnt about like fixing computers, and part of that was like multimedia and all that kind of thing. When the band folded, I could have done the whole 9 to 5, but I wasn't ready to do that yet. I'm like, I just looked at that like, it's too grown up, it's too responsible. You know what I mean? And so the next venture was actually packing up from Melbourne, actually coming to Sydney, where I worked for, do you remember Channel V?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got the opportunity to work on Channel V.
Sick.
Being like a music programmer, and I got exposed to creating content. I had the privilege of like interviewing bands. So I was still somewhat being creative.
Yeah, right. That's super, super interesting. Just give us 1 second. You're listening to the podcast, and I'm here to tell you to follow it. Come on, let's get stuck back in. He's an interesting dude, eh? But
after about 12 months, the novelty wore off really quickly. I wasn't paid much at all. Sydney's expensive as well. Yeah. And I'd been with my longtime girlfriend for a long time at the time, and I'm like, I want to get married, I want to buy the house, do all that, but I don't have money. And that thing in the back of your mind is like, you need stability, you got to time to grow up and be responsible. So that's what I did. I went back to Melbourne and went through a different journey. And when I say like, got a stable job in IT, was paid well, was cushy, somewhat cruisy, but it was stability, and that allowed me to get married, have a house, have kids and all that. But I was still craving that creativity. And so that led me to discover my next passion, which was Lego. Buying Lego for my kids and then realizing how fucking cool it is. And there I went going down this rabbit hole of buying it, not for my kids, for me, for myself, and spending hundreds, thousands of dollars on this new passion of mine. And
that we pretended to be theirs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But then, naturally that sparks some heated debates with the wife, because you're spending all this money on Lego when you have a single income, mortgage, kids, all that kind of, it's just wrong, right? But there was a light bulb moment, pun intended, where I thought, hey, there's a business opportunity here. And because I'm always trying to think of creating something and what can I do that's not your standard 9 to 5. What is it that I can do? I knew that I wanted to be in business or have some kind of business, but I didn't want to just go out and buy a fish and chip shop or a Subway or whatever it is. I wanted to do something really different and special. So in the mindset of trying to win this argument with the wife, I'm like, how do I make this passion of mine spending money guilt-free? Start a business to do with it. And I knew, that there was an opportunity there, because I wasn't the only crazy guy spending thousands of dollars on Lego because of like online forums, Facebook groups. There's other crazy guys.
You're in deep.
I was in deep, right?
In deep.
And I felt fine because there's other guys that have got these crazy collections.
Way bigger collections.
I'm nothing compared to that. But then I saw a gap in the market. No one was doing lighting. And I'm like, how do I leverage this passion and start something from it? So again, I've always been wanting to create something, or I've always been creative. I've always wanted to have this business, but I didn't realize it until this passion that I stumbled across. Then there was this whole thing that was stopping me from starting, because it's like, really, when it comes to, aside from the argument with the wife, really, how much money could you really make? I really just cheekily wanted to buy Lego guilt-free. And I saw this as a way to, spend money on this hobby of mine. But there was something that was holding me back, because I was like, well, people that have a product, it's always like the primary thing. Whereas this is Lego and this is light. So you need Lego. So this is secondary. So it's like, really, how much could you really make? These are all these barriers that were kind of overcoming me from starting it. But I was so driven. I was so passionate about this hobby. And I wanted to not just do this for myself, but also kind of be able to contribute to the community that this is a lighting product that can make your Lego 10 times cooler. So that's how that whole thing came about. But it all stems from, my childhood. I've always wanted to be creative. Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, something that stood out to me there as you were talking, and it's really interesting, was you said when you're in the cushy job
Yeah.
and you're like, I want something to be creative. And so like rather than the leap was I want something to make me bulk cash.
Yeah.
It was like I want something to
Start
be
with
creative.
passion first.
And it's an interesting thought because this was one of the challenges I had when I got to I think it was about year 10, you know, then my role had shaped from, you know, early days business to now you've got 400 people, you've got direct reports and you've got all these things. And you're the CEO role. Like I literally was like, I'm no longer creative. And that was part of the journey for the cookbook, was part of the journey for this podcast. It's like, I want to do something where I get to feel that, you know, there's something intoxicating about that creativity.
Yeah.
Talk to me, how has that shaped and differed from, you know, because I imagine when you first enter and then 8 years later to what it is today, like how do you keep that balance? Because in the creativity is the magic, and in the magic is where new products get added, new things get happening, and that's where, you know, can build the momentum to push us from 12 to, you know, whatever X million we're about to get to.
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely has evolved. You know, when you start the business, you're right in there, you're creating stuff and, you know, you're doing everything. But where the business is at now, I'm fortunate to not have to be involved the day to day. I've got a team of designers. I've got a general manager. I've got a team, a machine that's running well. But I think for me, it's like I can't not create something. It's if it's not within the business, it's always to do with some kind of thing, whether it's content creation or, you know, being creative with where I want to head to next in terms of like finding a new audience or even new products, or, you know, my brain's always thinking about the next thing. And I think for my type of character, it's never going to stop. You're always going to want to create something. And if it's not to do with your business, it's on the next business or next part of your life, whether it's your personal brand or whatever it is. You're always thinking and innovating. And I think that's what keeps it healthy, I think.
I love it. I've been really fascinated with this whole concept at the moment, which is momentum builds momentum.
Yeah.
And what I've found is through this journey of creating the new business is like, because you're in this continuous state of creativity, before you know it, everything is either coming out in your brain as like you see something, it's like, oh, there's an orange. You're like, oh, that's a piece of content. Or you know, I was with having a meeting the other day, someone wanted me on their board, and then all of a sudden I have these creative ideas because you're like, your brain is in that the momentum state. With your role now, like, what do you think the core focuses are on that can allow you to get to, you know, what would be your goal as a business to get to next year? And what do you need to focus on to get there?
For us, the goal is to double our revenue for the next 12 months.
In 12 months?
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Is it? That's the thing. Like, my mind is like, yeah, man, we can do it.
Oh, I love
and I've gone
that.
through this journey of not limiting what can be achieved.
Yes.
If you had asked me 3 years ago, I'd be like, oh, look, Light My Bricks can only do so much. We're a lighting company and you need Lego.
Yes.
Right? But there's been a bit of a journey of challenging my mindset and unlocking this ceiling, you know, for Light My Bricks. And so the old me would think, all right, you have to just sell more lights for Lego and you're dependent on what Lego does. The new way of thinking is to get to your revenue numbers, you're not going to be so reliant on just Lego. It's thinking outside the box. I'm so passionate about Lego, and that's what made me start this business. But there are so many other passions out there, right? There's other unique hobbies, and everything can be lit up. Everything can be brought to life. So why stop there? So we're so excited about this next phase.
Light my Warcraft.
Light my Warhammer.
Warhammer, that's it.
Yeah, that's like what you're thinking.
Frank.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? The Warcraft could bring out these figures that you could light up. But the thing is, people, they have their own, all these different types of passions. Lego's just one of them. And for me, it's like, I'm not going to stop at this limit of how much Light My Bricks would make based on just Lego. I want to push. I have big dreams personally, in not just for business, but, you know, in my family, my personal life, all that kind of thing. Like, I'm just on this crazy journey of, you know, being the ultimate best version of yourself, right?
Yes.
And so for us, it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I don't want to just stop there. I want to double revenue. I want to triple revenue. I want to get to 100 mil in the next 4 or 5 years, if not more. So that's the first goal. And my why is like, why I want to do this. I've got all these reasons. And that's what's driving me to get this number, but then you go backwards and go, how do we get to the next 12 months?
Yes.
Right.
Talk to me about that. I want to get mechanical here. I want someone to be like, pull over the side of the road. They're going to work.
Yeah.
They're like, fuck it. I'm just going to start writing down how's Kenny getting from 12 to 24 mil. Let's go.
Well, the big one is product, right?
Yes.
You need to scale this product. And that's where it's challenged me to think outside the box in terms of just lights for Lego.
Yeah.
How do we branch out and hit all these other markets? Lego is massive, but it's just one market.
So how did you quantify? To go, okay, we've reaching the ceiling of what that could be, and therefore these are the next markets we're going to enter.
Yep.
Because there's that kind of two polarizing things here. Is one is like when you get something and you're doing it well, it's like do it more and do it better.
Yep.
But also it does become a ceiling where you get like diminishing returns. So bring me into like the thinking.
Well, I mean, with Lego, I still wish we've got a long way to go because I've been privy to information that adult consumers of Lego, it's a new thing. People you would think Lego, they think kids, they think their nephews, their nieces, but the rise in adult consumers of Lego, it's just gone through the roof, especially after COVID, right? And that's where we've seen a lot of success because our product is for the adult consumers. And the research that we've been privy to is that the number of, or the percentage of adult consumers of Lego that are aware of lighting opportunities or possibilities is in the single digit in terms of percentage, right? So you can think of the potential there for Lego. So that's something we're going to always be doing. And that is going to grow. And I'm very confident that we'll continue to grow, continue to innovate in that area. But then you look at like, say, for example, Warhammer, right? Warhammer is massive. Huge. It's nuts. It's crazy. You just go down the rabbit hole of typing that into YouTube and just seeing all these different things. D&D, dungeon role play, like Terran stuff, right? It's a whole new thing, right? And you think that there's a lot of Lego content. Wait till you see how much content there is on just that. And lighting opportunities is just like, when you put lights in anything, every thing just looks 10 times better. It creates that added element and just brings these sets to life. It's starting to sound cliche in my head, but it's like things can be next level with lights. There's that.
Write that down, Kai. We need some light. We need some more lights, brother.
That's it.
I'm watching Kenny look at the table. He's looking at that. And he's going, "There's not enough lights."
But then you just like these are all unique passions, but there's so many different ones. It doesn't stop there. There's like models. There's like Gundams. These Japanese robots. Like it's a whole new thing, and people take so much pride in just displaying these things, and all they need is lights. Like that just makes it 10 times better. It elevates everything. So
good. So product is one.
Yeah.
What next? What else?
Yeah. So the product is a massive thing. Reach is a huge one.
Yep.
Awareness and reach. So I'm a huge believer in content. Content is, I believe, is a huge part of what has helped us get to where we are. It's something that I've always believed in from the very start. It's what really helped us really not just get through COVID, but triumph through that COVID period. And so our content strategy is something that we're going to really dial in, not just for like my bricks, but for me personally, I believe it's all about content, creating awareness, reaching new audiences, that whole top of funnel thing. So content is a big strategy. And the other thing is partnerships, distribution, major retail. We put all our eggs, or we have put all our eggs into just Australia. But it's crazy because half our market's in US. US is such a massive place compared to Australia. We need to focus on what we're doing well.
Is your distribution coming to Australia and then you're distributing from Australia too?
No, we've got
you got multiple.
Yeah, so
cool.
when I say distribution, we've got our own kind of warehouses that we distribute from, but it's also working with the right partners to distribute your product too. And that's something that we need to focus on in the US.
Are you doing both e-com and retail or mostly?
Right now, predominantly e-com, but retail is something that we want to dial in as well.
So talk to me then about the, so of course we've got reach, we've got organic through the content, and we've of course got paid. What does the ramp up for you look like from a paid perspective for paid ads to get into that number?
I've always been, I have learnt a lot about paid.
Teach us.
Yeah.
Teach us.
Well, learning from people like Jay Wright, as I mentioned before, just scaling through digital advertising is a huge unlock. I think a lot of businesses just allocate a certain amount and really just dwell on that. Like they'll say, all right, 10% of our revenue is for marketing. That's it. But it's like scaling through what is working and dialing that in, because the more, if it's working, why not pump in more? Why not pump in more? So for us, the strategy is to always is to really dial that in and be real experts in how we are running paid ads, and if it's working, just to continue to scale it, especially during campaign periods. Don't limit yourself to just spending X amount when you can be spending more and achieving more. You know what I mean? So it's that
100%. What do you spend currently on paid ads, like monthly, daily, or yearly?
At the moment, we're probably spending about close to 200 grand a month, I'd say. Yeah. Which is
Just
around,
Pause for effect, Kenny. Let that wash over me. 200 grand a month. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, like, so we held the founders table last week. 8 entrepreneurs from around Australia, and very different from 200 grand to 3 million.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that came up was a person was nervous about that leap. Hey, I'm spending currently $800. It's working, it's dialed in, and I'm like, why don't you double that? And it's like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you say 200 grand, it's like, it sounds really easy, but like the reality is, like, you're punting off some daily bulk cash. It takes a bit of like wherewithal to get there.
That's it. And I think a lot of agencies, a lot of other businesses, they'll thrive off that return, that ROAS, sorry.
For all the punters out there that don't know the acronyms, return on ad spend.
Ad spend, yeah. Lego people love their acronyms. So it's all about the acronyms.
I found every community loves their acronyms. And everybody's talking to each other with acronyms, and no one knows what's going on.
Yeah. But you sound cool when you say ROAS. Anyway, so they focus a lot on that ROAS, and their agency or whoever there's doing the digital advertising, they'll be like, we're getting 10x, it's killing it, right? 10x. But they're probably only spending like $1,000 a month, right? So $1,000 a month, they're making. Oh man, I don't like going into this conversation because I'm terrible at math.
That's fine.
But basically, you're getting that 10x. But imagine if you quadrupled that or spent 10 grand and you're making 5x as opposed to 10x, but you're making so much more.
Yes.
So it's trying to shift that mentality. So for us, 200 grand, yes, it seems like a lot of money. But if we're making 4x that, it's still a good return.
Yes.
We're about to head into our busiest time of the year, which is Black Friday. A lot of e-com, it's like that's where they make all their profit in that 1 month. Like, we're looking to spend like $1 million for November.
Yes.
But we have massive targets. But the way we look at it is we need to spend that to make that target. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
cool. So you can clearly tell that I like numbers.
Yes.
The more you say it, I'm just sitting there going, I had feedback yesterday on Instagram. Someone came to me and they said, Frank, loving the podcast. I was like, that's very kind of you. Yeah. They said, but you keep saying, when someone's talking, like, it's a bit distracting. I was like, it's great feedback. I was like, but my problem is
now they pointed it out.
Yeah, now I'm in my head, but I'm like, I just, now the person wrote on a YouTube comment, like, stop, like, I wish their host would stop giggling. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah, that's it.
I just love business. I get excited. So anyway, but shout out to you. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate it. I'll try being better.
All feedback is good.
So one really critical thing that came out to me from there is, so we've got these different levers, these drivers that can get us from 12 to 24. Amazing. And what I start to hear is, like, there's lots of optionality. And so one of the big ones is on this product, right? Because any one of these markets will probably get you from 12 to 24. Yeah. So how do you, Kenny, and the Light My Bricks team, how do you decide which is the right market? Because ultimately there's an investment that sees that growth.
Well, for us, it's when I say like all these ideas, we're still yet to validate that. Of course, this is us going on a bit of a gut feel, and there's always a test. There's always a validation period.
Yeah.
So for us, it's all about getting like a small suite of products, small run, and seeing how that goes. Advertising that, paid ads, both, and just seeing how it runs. If it runs, that's when we dial it up.
Yeah.
And I think with all of our products, and even from the very start, that's how you validate, and that's how you scale up, and that's how you test. We're seeing a lot of big brands do that. Even Lego, like when they release like different lines of products, now they have, like, say for example, a botanical range, right? And it's like orchid plants, bonsai tree, all that kind of thing. It's nuts now. They've probably got more than 10 different types of plants, right?
So good.
To a totally different audience. But when they started, they just started with maybe 2 or 3. They launch it and they go gangbusters. Unlocks a whole new audience, and then they just keep pumping it out. And you see that quite, with a lot of other sets of that design. Yeah.
So here's the key for the audience, right? Is you have to have some kind of measurement of success.
Yeah.
So I'm going to validate it, i.e. test it.
Yeah.
And if it reaches X, it's successful. And therefore I'll put the time and energy and effort in.
Yeah.
Because like as we mature in our approach to entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
We can work a lot of gut feel.
Yeah.
But you first need the stacks of evidence that can help your
definitely.
gut.
I mean, us entrepreneurs, we're super risky. We're just like, fuck it, let's just do it. But yeah, there is a point where you have to draw the line and not just that, if it's not working out, be okay with pivoting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good. And the last thing on this, and obviously I fixated on this because I recently wanted to go deeper because I think this stuff is just way more valuable to the audience. The mindset shift. I think that's truly the most important thing you touched on there, which is the default position, which is why not? So we want to double next year. Why couldn't I double?
Yes. Yeah.
And that is so powerful by like just broadening your horizons, broadening your thinking.
Yeah.
When did that shift happen and what has it done for you?
I guess the biggest unlock for me was overcoming this mindset from the very beginning. I was just starting this Lego business, this Lego related business, Lego Lights business. It was, and over time I've been able to kind of develop a way of thinking. It's a philosophy that I feel like I've developed, and I live by it, not just for business, but in my personal life and everything in life. It's called create a way, right? And this whole create a way it's a fluffy way of saying make it happen, just make it happen. But the way I explain it is having this passion or a unique passion that's not your normal passion. Like other people might not be into it. Not that many people are into it. It's having this unique passion, identifying what that is, no matter how unique it is. And I believe the more unique, the more better it is. And then also kind of stopping and asking yourself what's stopping you from doing that. Why are you thinking this? Is it your thoughts? Is it society's thoughts? Is it, no one's done it before? Like these are all challenges, and basically combining the two together, leaning into that passion and breaking out of this way of thinking and starting, right? So for me, that's the biggest kind of challenge because obviously without me doing that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And if you would ask me 8 years ago, like how much money, again, I said it before, like how much money can you really make selling lights for Lego? Or, you've got the cushy job. Why you've got a family to look after. You don't start the business in your 30s with kids. Like that, these are all kind of mental challenges or limiting beliefs that I was facing. And I think society has said you shouldn't, it's too risky to start a business when you've got the family and all that. The best time to do it is when you're in your early 20s, when you don't have responsibilities. You can work 100 hours a week. It doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's unlocking that really. So I guess those challenges has really helped me to navigate all the other, the way of thinking of Create a Way has helped me navigate all these challenges because don't get me wrong, starting a business and in the 8th year, there've been a shit ton of challenges along the way, but I approach everything as like, why am I thinking this? Is it fact? Is it fiction? Who's saying that I can't do this, or who's limiting me on saying this? And really having that genuine passion to break out of it and that genuine belief that you can achieve more. So why not just go get it? Yeah.
Fucking oath.
I hope I answered that question. I kind of just rambled on a bit because I feel so strongly about it. Do you know what I mean? I think there's so many people out there that are sitting on ideas, or they're just like letting life pass them by because they feel as though, this idea, no one's done it before, so I don't know if that's going to work. And that's the wrong way to think. Because if people are doing it already, the chances are, like, if you do it, it might not be that great. But then again, that's still another limiting belief. Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. I'm frothing. So I love it because this is a way. So I want to help someone who's listening today to like they might have a business. So how can you take this level of thinking and apply it to their business to get better outcomes? I've been refining this a similar thought pattern, but you've beautifully labelled it something, which is good. Thank you. Thank you. Can't wait to steal that, Kenny.
Create a way. Trademark.
And so for me, it goes like this. It's like the default position is why not?
Yeah.
So for us in our next business, we want to have $1 billion valuation in 5 years. And it's like, well, why would you do that? I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
And so you start with something that's crazy and you go, okay, but if that was true, How would I get there?
Yeah.
So you start with something
Work
huge and
backwards.
big and work backwards.
Yeah.
And the default in your mind is like, why not? So why not me? And then also when you're thinking about a new product idea, marketing idea, if you can change the way you think from a linear direction, and I'll explain to make us all a bit like, what's going on? If you change the way you think from a linear direction, i.e. so you go like, okay, we want to do a new set of ads to increase our revenue by double. By changing, I've forgotten what the word is, and I'll come back to us. But the idea is that you change the way how you think from you shrink the thinking and you expand the thinking, and the magic will happen in between. So what I mean by is that this. So let's pretend today you're spending 200 grand on ads, and it's delivering you a 5x return, $1 million.
Yeah.
And you got to go, okay, hey team, in order to get what we're doing today, but we only had a budget of $1,000, what would we do differently? Okay, and so now you have to think, oh, well, like I have new confines in the way I have to think, and you literally think about this process like, well, that's not possible, but what if it was possible? What could I do?
Yeah.
And you start to map out, and little moments will come from that. And then you go, okay, guys, we have $1 million budget per month.
Yeah.
What would we do differently if we had $1 million to spend? And then you go crazy and start going. And then you come back to the challenge at hand, which is like, okay, but we only have 200 grand. So what have we kind of learnt from the fringes of this thinking? And so to your point, there is like by having this expansion mindset and having that at the starting position, it's like expanding the way you think, and will help you get your outcomes will be so much more possible compared to if you're like sitting here and you're like, next year I want to go from 12 million to 13 million.
Yeah.
You know, your decision making process, you're limiting what is possible in your mind, and therefore like it's a very linear process to get there. So I like it, Kenny.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And you said it perfectly. I'm like, I don't know what else to add. I'm like, you nailed it.
Good. No, jokes. I want to pivot for a second. So one of the questions I had before was, do you have any kids? And you said 3. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Firstly, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
What have you learned from the process of being a dad that's come onto your business?
I think, you know, for me, it's prioritizing. Like you've got the business, and you want to. All you want to do is work all the time. Because work isn't work, you know. You love what you do. You're so passionate about it. It's not a grind. You love it, and you have this. Well, I had this mindset that the more you work, the more you're going to achieve. But for me, having that family, like I already had at the time 2 kids when I started the business. It was still ensuring why are you doing it all at the end of the day, and ensuring that you can find that balance. I think as a dad, I'm always trying to teach my kids, because you want them to be the best kids and grow up to be good, independent, thoughtful, resilient, grateful kids that can solve life problems, you know? So for me, it's always teaching them. So I always include them a lot in my learnings in business. I include them in my learnings doing on this content journey. You know, for example, you know, when you first start your content journey, you're not sure about putting yourself out there. You're like, oh, you're very critical, but it's a thing that I include them in because I want them to learn from it rather than shy them away from it, because it's all about helping people. It's all about your confidence. It's all about your belief in doing what you do to make to contribute to society. And I say that because as an example of when I started, like I remember receiving my first kind of toxic, you know, comments and criticism. I'm like, holy shit, this is nuts. This is very confronting.
Yes.
People were commenting on my look, my teeth. It was nuts. It was very cruel. And I was like, oh, you know, first thing is to delete the comment or whatever it is. But then I use that as a learning experience for my kids and say, hey, this is life. Like there are people that are nasty. There are people that will be so quick to comment. You know, I'm sure my kids will have social media when they're older. I'm not going to shelter them that from them, but it's just teaching them that people go through shit too. You know, it's not always a reflection on you. It's more a reflection on them, and you don't know what people are going through. Hurt people. You know that saying. So just teaching them about that through my journey of content creation is just a simple example of what it's like, you know, when you've got the business and you've got kids and bringing them into that and just teaching them. Even just like with issues at work, it could be people related, it could be product related, it could be dealing with customers. I always love to share that with my kids so that they learn from it and they can grow up and be aware that these things are the way they are, and you got to be resilient. Life deals you with shit, but you can't change that. How do you change yourself? How do you learn from it? And how do you grow from that, basically? Yeah.
Oof, I love so here's why I love that, Kenny. There's this challenge in some of the things that are happening today with the younger generation.
Yeah.
Now, I'm speaking from a place of authority. I only have a son. He's 2 years old. So no one roast me. Yeah. But here's the problem. So we have some things like, you're 5 years old and you're getting, everybody gets a participation award. There's no more winners and losers.
Yeah.
And what I love about what you're doing there is like, hey, the world is the world. The world is like, is the market, and the market is brutal. The market isn't considering feelings. Unfortunately, someone there is like roasting you on something that's personal, and you're like, ouch.
Yeah.
And if you shelter someone from when they're very young all the way up until the time they enter the market, they enter the world, and then they get roasted, it's like you haven't set them up for success.
That's it.
Where I love what you're doing there is like bringing them in part of that, having little learning lessons because, hey, this is going to happen. There are winners, there are losers. And there's people that are going to do these things that help you think about it from an empathetic standpoint. Love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, it's so good. And like, what would you think like the most critical things that you want to instill in your kids are?
Being grateful.
Why?
Yeah, being grateful because nothing shits me more than people that feel privileged and people that are spoiled and people that do not value what they have. I don't want my kids to grow up to be like that. And so we are fortunate to have nice things. We're fortunate to go on holidays and all that kind of thing. So it's a constant thing that my wife and I are instilling in our kids. Be grateful. People don't have this. I want you to know that this may not be the normal for some. You have to value that. You have to be grateful that you wake up every day and you may not be starving. As simple as that. We are fortunate to have these things. So for us, one of the biggest things is instilling gratitude in them.
And how do you do that?
Like, I'm just constantly, well, my kids are 10 and 12, 3. They're still at a young age, but it's constantly reminding them, but also asking them to practice that by journal entries. My oldest son, it's like we're going through an interesting time with him. He's becoming a young man. He wants to argue back. He thinks he's right all the time, which is good. I don't want to bottle that in any way. But for us, with him, we're like saying, hey, every night, can you just write what you're grateful for? 5 things. As simple as that. It causes them to reflect and think. And I think a lot of kids, a lot of young people don't spend enough time reflecting and being thankful and grateful for what they have. Because I think if you practice gratitude, it can go a long way. Gratitude and thoughtfulness, I think that's, the thing that we love to instill in our kids as much as possible.
I love it. And a perfect segue for me, Kenny, because right at the start of the journey, you've said to me the thing that you wrestle with is that feeling the need to prove and the constant push.
Yeah.
When you put the same lens of yourself, do you feel that you have spent enough time like in that moment of gratitude and gratefulness and being proud of what you've done? Yeah,
for sure. I think it's something that I still challenge myself on. I woke up this morning and I was like, I didn't have a great sleep, all that kind of thing. But then I looked out. So I'm in Sydney, right? I am traveling. I have the privilege of traveling and meeting people and networking with people like this, talking about opportunities, all that kind of thing now. Like I am living the dream, and I had to pinch myself and be like, I'm doing this because I followed my passion for Lego. I am doing this because I built a company through my passion, as opposed to what I was doing before that at a 9-to-5, hating it and not having that fulfillment. I'm still constantly challenging myself and reminding myself that, I'm super lucky and I'm very grateful for not just what I have, but what I've built, the people I have that like my bricks, Sam, just people that I meet and people that are around me. It's just like, man, I'm pretty fucking lucky. Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I have a last question for you. The people who've listened so far to this moment, who've listened to our journey, what would be the thing that you want them, like if you could teach them one thing, what would that one thing be?
it's create a way, basically. It's, think about what you want to achieve. Think about what's stopping you from achieving that. Because a lot of people are subconscious to that. I think they don't realize that there is something stopping them. Like there is something that's not allowing them to get off the couch. And I ask myself, like, and I tell them, sorry, that's the first thing, is identifying, what it is that's stopping you and leaning into what you're passionate about, leaning into why you love to do it. And don't look to society for validation. Don't look to YouTube for validation. Get out there, combine them two, break out of your box, start and, create a way.
Good man. Kenny, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you so much.